Dark night of the soul? No. Childhood trauma? No. The real reason you're miserable is something a forgotten psychologist cracked over a century ago. And it'll take exactly one idea to unravel everything you thought you knew about your own Jungian. And we're diving deep into one of the most thought-provoking books in modern psychology, The Courage to be Disliked, written by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. This book draws heavily from the work of Alfred Adler, a psychologist whose ideas were so radical and so ahead of his time that the mainstream world still hasn't fully caught up with them. And once you understand what Adler and these two authors are saying, you genuinely can't unsee it. It changes everything. And stick around, because near the end I've got a special bonus for you, a practical framework you can start using today, right after you finish watching. I'll be coming back to that gift throughout this video, so make sure you stay with me all the way through. So let's start with the central claim. Kishimi and Koga argue that every single problem you face in life comes back to one root cause. You care too much about what other people think of you. Now, before you dismiss that as oversimplified, hear them out, because they're not just talking about being a people pleaser or being shy in social situations. They're talking about something that runs far deeper than that, something that shapes your emotions, your goals, your entire identity, and the way you move through the world each day. Adler's psychology is built on a fascinating foundation. He believed the self isn't divided into warring parts the way Freud imagined. Instead, he saw the self as a unified whole, where your body, your mind, your emotions, and even your unconscious thoughts are all working together toward a single goal. And here's the part that hits like a truck. He didn't believe we're driven by our past. He believed we're driven by our goals. Everything you feel, everything you do, it's all in service of something you're trying to achieve, even when you think it's happening to you rather than being chosen by you. Think about that for a second. Kishimi and Koga give a powerful example. Imagine someone who wants to go for a job interview, but they're so paralyzed by anxiety that they can't prepare. They can't even show up. Most people would say, well, he'd do better if he just wasn't so anxious. But Adler's framework flips that completely. He'd say the anxiety isn't stopping him from getting the job. The anxiety is being created by him to help him avoid the interview, because his real goal isn't success. It's avoiding the risk of failure. The emotion isn't the obstacle. It's the strategy. He's generating the fear on purpose unconsciously to protect himself from something scarier than anxiety, which is trying and still being rejected. This idea reshapes how you look at your own emotional life. You aren't a passive victim of your feelings. You're actively producing them in service of goals you may not have consciously chosen. And this is where it gets especially interesting, because Kishimi and Koga argue that the goal most responsible for your overall happiness or unhappiness is the goal you've set for your relationships with other people. Now, before we go any further, I want to pause for just a moment, because this is actually the perfect point to mention something that genuinely aligns with everything we're talking about. If you've ever read all the books, listened to all the podcasts, and still felt like you weren't making real progress, it's not because you lack effort or intelligence. It's because you've been working with fragments instead of a complete system. The Self-Mastery Bundle was built for exactly this. It's a comprehensive toolkit with 30 guides and over 210 interactive add-ons that tackle your mindset, your productivity, your habits, and your sense of purpose all in one place. It's designed to take you from where you are to where you actually want to be, not with quick fixes, but with a real structured path. There's a limited time offer available right now, and you can check it out in the description below. It's worth a look, I promise. Now let's get back to the ideas that could genuinely change your life. Kishimi and Koga say there are essentially two types of goals people pursue in relationships. The first is seeking approval. The second is contributing to the lives of others. And the goal you choose determines everything about your emotional experience. Unhappy people, they say, have made gaining approval their primary objective. They believe that being seen as good, as worthy, as likable, by a teacher, a parent, a partner, by society at large, is the thing that will finally make them feel okay. But here's the brutal truth they lay out. That's a zero-sum game. When someone else succeeds, they raise the bar. They make it harder for you to look good by comparison. So suddenly he's not just your colleague, he's your competition. And that's when you stop celebrating people's wins and start quietly hoping they stumble. That's what approval-seeking does to relationships. It quietly poisons them. And here's the part that really stings. Even when you do get the approval you've been chasing, there's a price. Because the moment you're living for someone else's opinion, you're living by their rule book. You can't be free and be obsessed with what others think of you at the same time. Doesn't work. You're always adjusting, always performing, always shrinking or inflating yourself depending on who's in the room. That's not freedom. That's a cage with a very comfortable interior. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because we bring you deep dives like this one every week, drawn from the most powerful books in psychology, philosophy, and human development. You won't want to miss what's coming. Now, Kishimi and Koga also tackle something that many people use as an excuse to stay stuck, and that's the idea that past trauma is the reason they can't move forward. They don't dismiss the reality of painful experiences, but they draw a crucial distinction. It's not what happened to you that determines your life. It's the meaning you've attached to what happened. Two people can go through identical experiences and one of them uses it as fuel while the other uses it as a wall. The difference isn't the event, it's the interpretation. And you're the one doing the interpreting. That means you're also the one who can choose to reinterpret. This is deeply empowering once you sit with it. You didn't choose what happened to you, but you can choose what it means. And that choice shapes who you're becoming right now. So if approval seeking is the trap, what's the way out? Here's where the book takes a genuinely beautiful turn. Kishimi and Koga say that happy people don't organize their lives around being liked. They organize their lives around being useful. They find real, lasting joy in the feeling that they've contributed to someone else's experience, that they've made a difference, that they matter. Not because someone told them so, but because they feel it themselves from the inside. When you genuinely believe you're contributing to the people around you, you don't need the external validation anymore. It's already there. She doesn't need a round of applause because she already knows the work she did was real. And there's a liberating implication here. If your worth doesn't depend on comparison, then his success doesn't threaten yours. Her achievement doesn't diminish you. You can actually celebrate the people around you without any agenda because you're not competing. You're coexisting. And that shift, from competition to contribution, transforms every relationship you have. Kishimi and Koga also point out that you don't need to do something extraordinary to have value. Just by existing, by being present in the lives of the people around you, you're already making a difference. That sounds almost too simple, but it's actually incredibly difficult for most of us to believe, because we've been conditioned to earn our place, to justify our existence through achievement or approval. What they're saying is that your value is inherent. It doesn't have to be won. And remember that special bonus I promised you at the start? We're almost there. Keep watching, because the practical piece I'm about to share pulls everything together in a way you'll actually be able to use. The key takeaway from everything we've explored today is this: some people won't like you. Doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how hard you try. There's no version of your life where everyone approves of you, and chasing that version is the fastest route to losing yourself. The authors say that real freedom, genuine happiness, it's not something you find by getting more likes or more praise. It's something you create by developing the courage to live according to what you believe is right, even when it costs you someone's approval. Don't outsource your self-worth. Don't let someone else's yardstick become the ruler you measure yourself with. You can't be free and be a prisoner of other people's opinions at the same time. And there's something incredibly powerful about finally accepting that. Now stay on just a moment, because I've got that bonus content for you. And I also want to remind you again about the self-mastery bundle in the description. If what we've talked about today resonates with you, that system was genuinely designed for this kind of inner transformation. It's not a gimmick. It's a structured, comprehensive toolkit to help you build confidence, clarity, and purpose from the inside out. Check the description for the link, and here's your bonus. 3 questions to ask yourself tonight that will start shifting you from approval-seeking to genuine contribution. First, whose opinion has been running my decisions this week, and is that person actually in charge of my life? Second, in my closest relationships, am I giving because it fulfills me, or am I giving to collect a debt? And third, if nobody was watching, what would I do differently tomorrow? Write those down, sit with them. They'll tell you more about where you actually are than most therapists will in an hour. Don't stop watching now, because coming up very soon on your screen is a video about Carl Jung and the idea that nobody and nothing will affect you again. You should watch it because Jung's framework for inner power goes hand in hand with everything Adler teaches, and together, they form one of the most complete pictures of psychological freedom you'll ever encounter. Click and watch it next.